Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Patrick Melton. I'm a Cloud Solutions Architect with NetApp, and today we're going to discuss how NetApp unlocks the best of Azure Cloud. So, what if you could use one set of tools to manage your data wherever that is? Simplify the transition to a multi-cloud environment. Move the data easily between your edge, your core, and your cloud. Modernize your infrastructure. Deploy emerging apps with enterprise-grade data services, and change the economics of your data center. Those are all the things we're going to hopefully talk about in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we're going to talk about those using the NetApp portfolio in Azure and our data fabric. So, NetApp's cloud portfolio in Azure. What differentiates us from the competition? Well, we've got Cloud Insights. That ties into our offerings of Azure NetApp Files and Cloud Volumes on Tap. Those are our two main offerings of storage platforms in Azure. Azure NetApp Files is a PaaS offering. Cloud Volumes on Tap is an IaaS offering. Global File Cache caches active data sets for distributed offices globally, anytime, anywhere, as used by your workforce. Spot PC for your virtual desktop service, streamlines and secures your users' workspaces. Spot saves money on cloud consumption costs. Cloud Sync and Snap Mirror. Cloud Sync allows you to sync data to and from the cloud from multiple sources. Snap Mirror works with our ONTAP on-prem storage arrays. So you can use Snap Mirror, which is a block level transfer for replication, to transfer data from ONTAP on-prem to Cloud Volumes on Tap. This could be either for a DR purpose or to transfer data from your ONTAP on-prem to get you into the cloud for transfer to production workloads. Data Sense. Ensure regulatory compliance. That could be GDPR, that could be HIPAA, that could be PII data. It could also be for you to evaluate the data that you have and look at how big is your data, how old is your data, how cold is your data, how stale is your data, where do you need to move that data to? Those are things that DataSense does a really great job at when you start looking at and evaluating the data you have before you move it into the cloud and choose the wrong tier at the wrong cost for your data. Astra Control, looking at managing the life cycle of your Kubernetes. A really critical task when you start looking at all the K8s and how to manage those. Cloud Backup Service. As you're an ONTAP on-prem customer, if you wanted to look at how do you get more out of your hardware that you have and transferring some of your workload into the cloud, this is a great tool. Once you go into the cloud, you still have to worry about backups. As you're an ANF or Azure NetApp Files customer, you have to worry about backups. That's a thing that you definitely, in the cloud or out of the cloud, backups are priceless and restores are priceless. So in ANF, you want to make sure that you have the ability to do extended backups and archives. Why not take those backups from ANF and push them out to Blob? It's a cheaper media. You take those blobs or move them out to Blob and get them off of the higher dollar ANF storage, and you increase your daily retention for archiving compliance. Great way to use it, great benefit to the Azure environment, and a great use of NetApp technology. Why Azure NetApp Files? Great question. It's a unique offering in Microsoft's environment. It is a fully managed environment from Microsoft, sold by Microsoft, supported by Microsoft. 4 nines of availability. It is high availability by design. It is a first-party Microsoft service. Turnkey, consumes directly against your Microsoft Azure EA or your commit. It is not a marketplace offering. It is natively integrated into the Azure network. It is a VNet injected technology. It lives privately inside of your Azure VNet, dedicated tenancy and IP space, and integrated into the Azure network. Simply turn it on, choose your capacity, and start consuming. That's the beauty of Azure NetApp Files. It is a first-party Azure service. What's the business value for your customers? Increased business agility, right sizing for the future, faster provisioning, cost reduction, infrastructure and operational cost reduction. These are a few of the things that we've seen over the last 3 years that this service has been available. And these are some of the numbers that we've seen from our customers from an infrastructure and operational cost reduction. The increased business agility are all benefits that we all expect to see from the cloud. And this is what we see on a daily basis with our customers. Azure NetApp Files from a scenario and workloads. Once again, it's migrating to Azure. It's building new apps. It's extracting insight. It's open source software or mixed environment. The list at the bottom are just some of the workloads and the environments that we see our customers building in ANF in Azure every day. We've had great success in all of these: FS Logics, SAP, HPC, 3D CAD rendering, VDI, home directories, web apps. Not going to list them all. You can see them. We're going to go over a few of these on the next few slides, but these are what we've been doing over the last 3 years, and we've been doing these very well and very successfully. So if any of these are environments that you or your customers are in, please come talk to us. We'd love to work with you. ANF, or Azure NetApp Files, and our performance service levels. We've got 3 performance service levels: standard, premium, and ultra. They're defined by the throughput assigned to each. At standard, we've got 16 megabytes per second per terabyte. Premium is 64 megabytes per second per terabyte, and ultra is 128 megabytes per second per terabyte. The workloads are defined underneath of those. Performance is explained as well. Once again, this is a PaaS service. It does have a performance SLA guaranteed by Microsoft, and these are QoS against all flash storage. Okay, this is a billable cost per terabyte, and you can dynamically switch between service levels from standard to premium, standard to ultra, or going the other way from ultra to premium, premium to standard, or ultra down to standard. And once again, when you switch between service levels, there is no data migration required. This is just a QoS change, and it is instantaneous when you make that change. The application can stay up, the volume can stay mounted, nothing changes except for the QoS, and the performance is impacted immediately, whether that's up or down. What's the hierarchy look like? The hierarchy looks like, of course, it's Azure. We have to have a subscription. From underneath the subscription, you have to have a NetApp account. That is a regional-based account. You can have up to 10 regional accounts per subscription. That's a soft limit that can be raised by a ticket through support with Microsoft. Now, underneath each regional account, you can have up to 25 capacity pools. These capacity pools are a minimum of 4 terabytes to 500 terabytes. This is where you set the performance tier, whether it's ultra, premium, or standard. This is also where the billing starts. So when you create this capacity pool, you will start getting billed for this capacity. Now, once you have created this capacity pool, then you can start carving that out into volumes. Your volumes will start out at 100 gig minimum and 100 terabytes maximum. and you can have up to 500 of those per capacity pool. Now, one of the solutions that we have that is in public preview as of this date is the Azure VMware solution. What makes the Azure NetApp Files solution so special in the Azure VMware solution? We are the only storage solution right now that can decouple the storage from the VMware clusters. What do I mean by that? When you come into an Azure VMware solution, you will come in with the VMware clusters and you will come in with a vSAN. Those are two required components of the Azure VMware solution. If you need to grow in capacity from a storage perspective, and you do not have Azure NetApp Files, you will need to purchase VMware clusters and additional vSAN storage. We allow you, as Azure NetApp Files, to purchase Azure NetApp Files storage and use that as NFS v3 data stores that can be attached to your Azure VMware solution and your VMware clusters. So if you still have compute power left, but have run out or need additional storage for your Azure VMware solution, you can attach Azure NetApp Files as your VMware data store on NFS v3 without having to purchase VMware clusters and vSAN. We are low latency, high throughput, 4 nines of Azure SLA. We have the AVD and Citrix solution on Azure. We work great in the VDI, the FS Logix environment. We support the SMB versions. We support native Active Directory domain services, full NTFS ACL support. We have a large list of customer wins on our environment. We are high IOPS with low latencies. We do great in preventing boot storms, virus scan storms. Please take a look at our environments. We are happy to help. We've got lots of wins out there. SAP on Azure. Number one thing I want everyone to remember, we are HANA certified. We work very well in satisfying and exceeding the SAP KPIs for SAP S/4HANA in Azure for both shared files and the databases. If you want to put SAP mounts, SAP trans, SAP SID, whether it's just the binaries, the shared files, or the databases on us, as you look on this sheet, you'll see that we represent low, medium, medium high, and high. This is where we equate to standard, premium, and ultra. We provide on-prem like performance, on-demand scalability. We work in conjunction with our snapshot technology and the Azure Application Consistency Snapshots. We provide great DR capabilities with our cross-region replication. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to work with you and show you some of our great customer wins with Microsoft in some of the countries and probably some of the world's largest SAP environments. With that being said, I want to wrap this up by showing you some of the links we've got for you. Solution architectures using Azure NetApp Files. What is Azure NetApp Files? The cloud.netapp.com link, the curated Azure NetApp Files link, the curated CVO or Cloud Volumes on Tap link. And for our partners out there, please feel free to contact your partner tech or your cloud area lead. And for NetApp internals, please contact your local Azure NetApp CSA team. Thank you for listening to me while I talk about how NetApp unlocks the best of the cloud. And I hope you have a great Microsoft Ignite conference.